Good morning, people. It's a very early morning, about 6 o'clock. We are heading off today to Sydney on our second last journey on this Asia-Europe tour. So let's have some lights. Our airport is WSSS Changi. And trip fuel. Wow. Now this is a bit of a tricky one because we don't actually have enough fuel to get home from Changi to Sydney. So we may end up having to fudge the numbers here. So our full fuel load is 20.9 tonnes of fuel, and we really do need about 22 tonnes. So we don't have any passengers today. It's a very light aeroplane, very low amount of cargo, so that we may be able to make Sydney. So we'll just see how we go. I'd rather do it on the real numbers and see if we can make it. Make it a bit of a challenge. So being our second last flight, it's exactly the same as we've done before. I'm going to go through, do our startup, and then I will come back when we're a bit closer to our descent. Oh, sorry, I might come back when we're in the air. Let me get this right. We'll come back after I've got the engine started and we're ready for pushback. So we're doing our pushback now. Oh, excuse me. The end of our strip is over here to our left. Right, sorry. We do have 10 degrees of flaps. Okay, we've got a slight issue going on here. We only have alright, why is our right map dead? Oh golly. Never seen that before. There we go. There's something here I've done wrong. There we go, that should be right, that'll come up in a second. We have an Emirates coming in. Very long flight today, 3,400 miles, so probably one of the longest flights we'll ever do in the sim. It's about 4 hours. Not coming up. Here we go. Alright, so we're good to go. Let's taxi. Bye, Singapore. Got a big bird on our right here. Gotta keep an eye out for him. We've got 10 degrees of flaps today because I want to do a very slow ascent. Try and conserve as much fuel as possible. It really will be touch and go as to whether we make this or not. If we're getting a bit close when we get to Sydney, I may have to do a splash in the tanks. Our progress tells us that we should get there with plenty of fuel on our current computer calculations, so as long as I stick to what I put in there, we should be right. Now I've got to play chicken with an A330 here. So I might just duck off and take this taxiway over here rather than cause a major incident. Probably slow down a bit. Now we're in a drag race with another A330 or 40. Okay, doesn't look like there's anything coming. Right, before takeoff checklist, attendant notification. Transponder is on. Packs are set, bleeds are set, APU is off, and our recall is 0. So we're all good to go. Let us get going. 54 and stable, toga. Knots cross check. And V1 rotate. And positive rate, gear up. Two degrees. And let's go over to LNAV, VNAV. 1 degree. Singapore off to the right. And flaps up. Here's our first bank off to the left. Beautiful Singapore harbour down there. So we're leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning. We should be in Sydney by about two p.m. roughly. Our ceiling today is 40,000 feet. Which is the highest we've flown. The aircraft's ceiling is actually 41,000 feet, so we're pretty close to top ceiling. It's a very nice site out there, Singapore and surrounding areas. We do have a few restrictions, height restrictions for the next 3 waypoints. So we basically got to stay under 6,000 feet. Once we hit the third waypoint in about 12 miles, we'll be cleared then to go to 40,000 feet. we're just coming up on the last of our waypoints before we start our big climb up to 40,000 feet. Once we enter that climb, I'll turn the video off and we'll come back a little bit closer to Australia. Maybe a little bit of in-flight when we're going over the top of Australia there, around Darwin area, and then we'll capture the landing. And there we go, so we're on our climb now. We'll be heading straight up to 40,000 feet. And we should be there just before we hit our next waypoint of Venpa. Or maybe a little after. So our fuel rate's just gone through the roof. We're up to 4 gallons a minute, I think it is. Per engine. Let's check out where we are. We're flying over Indonesia at the moment. So as I said, we'll come back when we're a little bit, probably over top of Australia. Well, we're back, people, but unfortunately we had an issue. I tried to change the weather in the sim and it crashed, so I've actually come back the next day. We're going to finish off this flight. We were roughly over just a couple of 100 miles out of Alice Springs, so we've started up a flight again this morning and we've just taken off from Alice Springs and we're going to do that second last flight to Sydney. So we're on our way now. We're almost at height. We're flying at 34,000 feet over to Sydney. It's 1,000 miles from here, so we've basically travelled 3,500, so 2,500 miles to get here. We would have been a bit short on fuel anyway, so probably would have been advisable to stop at Alice Springs for a refuel. So we're well on the way. That's a bit strange, 2 lights on there, speed in, that's better. Yeah, so we're well on our way. We'll come back when we're on our descent phase. We're heading into runway 34 left this morning, and then we'll take a short break, refuel, get everybody on board, because we've got an empty aeroplane at the moment. We'll get everybody on board and then we're going to do our last flight off to Brisbane, so that'll be the finish of our Asia-Europe tour, and this morning I've already started securing all of my scenery for our next tour in the new year 2018. So we're kicking off probably in February after I get back from a nice break and a cruise, and we'll be heading off to the UK. So I've bought Tenerife, which looks like a really nice airport, so we're probably going to kick off from Tenerife. I do want to do Gibraltar, so we might do Tenerife to Gibraltar and then from Gibraltar over to the UK. But a lot of UK 2000 scenery I bought this morning: Manchester, Newcastle, a whole bunch of Glasgow, a whole bunch of software there. So we should be in for some really good flights in the UK tour. It doesn't only cover the UK, we're doing Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, so the whole 4 countries. So it should be a really good tour, so hopefully you'll join us for that one as well. That'll be kicking off probably early February, I'd say. So anyway, I'll come back after I've got a little bit closer to landing, and we'll see if we can do a successful landing today. So we've just entered our descent. We've got roughly about 90 miles to go, and Sydney looks like a beautiful day. So we'll go through, do our descent checklist, which is our altimeters and bugs. All looking good. Our VREP and target. Our VREP and target is 40 degrees of flaps at 136. Our PATs are set. Our start switches are back over to continuous. Our recall, nothing on the recall. I have speed brake armed. No flaps at the moment. Everything else looks pretty good. Lights are on. Runway lights and landing lights are on, so we're pretty good now until we get down to the 10-mile final. So I'll come back when we just hit the 10-mile final and catch that last 5 minutes of flight. So we're just about to turn on to our final, 10-mile final. Our left and right channel playing up again. Almost like a slideshow on the left and right channel at the moment. There we go, there's Sydney. And there's our strip that we're landing on, 34 left. We don't have the ILS just at the second. See what happens when we line up. Put the gear down. Go over. See if we can get an auto land out of it. Doesn't look like it. No auto land today. working. Qantas A380 taking off there. We're going to take this one right in front of us. Bay 41. There's the NIG system working here. Okay, well that's it people. Our last flight coming up next time, going from here back to Brisbane, which is the final leg. So until then, bye for now.